Hey guys, Matthew here from WingScan. Look, I'm going to cut straight to it today. I'm going to show you how our measurement technology is helping bulk handling operations stop basically hemorrhaging millions in measurement errors. And maybe you're moving tons of material every hour. Maybe you're losing track of a chunk of that. Maybe you're watching money disappear because your measurements are off by just a few percentage points. Maybe you're sick of walking the yard and checking piles or waiting for the end of shift reports, or perhaps maybe you just want to know exactly what's moving through your facility. So whatever your situation, what I'm going to show you is actually changing how the biggest bulk handling operations of the material. So look at it this way. If you're moving like 500 tons per hour, whether that's on your conveyors, your trucks, or your rails, then even just a 3% error means you're losing track of 15 tons every single hour. So think about that. Multiply it across different transport points, multiple shifts, day after day, and that's a lot of material that you can't account for and millions of dollars that go down the toilet, right? But here's the thing. What if you could measure every single load that moves in your operation down to the millimeter? And we're not just talking about one loading point, we're talking about everywhere material moves. So trucks, rail cars, conveyors, all at once in real time. And it still works even if you're like in a harsh environment full of extreme dust, dirt. And so at this point you might be thinking, okay, that sounds really cool, but how would that be possible? Maybe you're a natural skeptic. I am, and I would think that this sounds too good to be true. I get it. That's why I want to show you exactly how we do this and take you behind the scenes and show you the technology. Well, it all starts with our volumetric scanning system called WingScan. And it doesn't matter if it's trucks, rail cars, or whatever, it measures everything with a level of accuracy that's been independently tested in rigorous laboratory environments. And most traditional measurement systems out there, they can't really handle the small stuff. They miss a lot of the finer material, and that costs you money. Other systems can't handle the big stuff. They get overwhelmed by large rocks and they freeze, and that's more money down the drain. But a handful of really brilliant engineers who are way smarter than me designed WingScan to accurately measure the tiniest grain of sand to big chunks of clinker and really everything in between, plus or minus 12 millimeters. So if you have bulk material, our system provides you instant bulk measurements. And here's the science behind it and why it actually does that. So first, picture creating a net of laser beams. We have something called a LiDAR unit, and it emits thousands of quick laser pulses. It fires thousands of them in milliseconds, and it covers a massive 190-degree view angle that reaches out 80 meters. Then, while your material is moving, it doesn't matter if it's flying down a conveyor belt, it doesn't matter if it's moving on a truck. While your material is moving, each laser pulse hits it and then it bounces back with really incredible precision. So we're firing this at your stuff and it bounces back. And here's what's really cool. Our sensors, they catch every single reflection or bounce back. So with really good accuracy, it's kind of like having thousands of Olympic timekeepers all working at once and they never miss anything. So what does all that mean? Well, it means at the end of this process, our system is going to give you a perfect 3D map of your material. So you don't have to guess anything. You just get these measurements that you can trust. And then the data is collected via a smart software system that lets anyone on your team actually understand it. Isn't that powerful? Now, let me show you something that really sets WingScan apart from any other volumetric system out there, and really any kind of traditional measurement system. It's something called SIK Echo5 technology. Now, what's that? So this thing is what makes WingScan work effectively in the real world. So what do I mean by that? So this is really important. So how like a flashlight beam bounces off of whatever it hits, right? Well, remember, our system does the same thing with incredibly precise laser pulses. Now, here's the thing. In an environment that's industrial, there's all kinds of stuff around. There's a lot that a laser could bounce off of, and you can find dirt in the air. There's going to be rain pouring down at your quarry. Well, when the light hits anything, including those particles in the air, it bounces back. We call that an echo. This leads to something really important about WingScan that makes it very, very unique. We designed it to track and see many of these echoes. So in the real world, where you're working in a harsh environment, you can measure bulk material rather than all the other stuff in the way. There could be glass, there's fog, heavy dust, whatever, you name it. Echo5 sorts through all these echoes, and it can interpret different obstacles in the way. So what's happening is our technology filters through all the noise to find exactly what you really need to measure without any kind of interference, and more importantly, without needing to rely on this, right? Old belt scales, weighbridges, platform scales, these things constantly lead to downtime and maintenance. And WingScan, thanks to this sophisticated technology, is really just a more modernized approach to accurate measurement in very harsh industrial environments. So ultimately, you can finally trust your measurements. And in a business like yours, where every single percentage point hits your bottom line, that's huge. I mean, you work way too damn hard, and your time is too valuable to be dealing with crap like load disputes or inventory issues or scale downtime. And speaking of inventory, I want to put the impact of this technology into perspective. So just for a moment, when it comes to the real world, let's take a cement operation, for example. So let me show you something that'll make every cement plant manager out there lose sleep. Imagine this. Imagine you have a small 2.5% error in your daily measurements. It might seem harmless, right? But if you're moving 4,000 tons daily, this means that you're losing track of 100 tons every single day. You're looking at a massive production shortfall that just crushed your monthly targets, right? And it happened within just a very small measurement error that went unnoticed until it was too late. So at WingScan, we've seen this problem happen time and time again when a plant doesn't have real-time measurement and material monitoring. So when you implement that one missing piece, things really change. For example, take what happened at Heidelberg Materials. Their team discovered something really fascinating when they were monitoring synthetic gypsum. They kept seeing these massive clumps in their feed, followed by nothing, then another huge clump. So a regular belt scale would have just completely missed this pattern. And at first they thought something was wrong with their readings, but WingScan revealed the real problem was actually upstream in their feed system. But here's what really transformed their operation. Instead of finding out about that problem weeks after it happened, they suddenly had a 20-day head start to fix these kinds of issues before they impacted production, because they now have this real-time data. They go from constantly reacting to problems to preventing them before they even get started. Isn't that cool? So what's fascinating? While that cement example, it shows you the day-to-day impact, I want to show you something that completely blew my mind when it comes to the massive scale what's actually possible when you start to leverage this volumetric load scanning technology. It's not just one industry that can benefit from this. So we got this message from Dell over at Takora Resources. These guys, they run massive diamond operations, and what he told us floored me. He said every time they need to calibrate their belt scales, they lose between $12 to $21 million, and that's just gone. And they're doing these calibrations multiple times a year, and each hour of downtime burns through $3 million in revenue, not profit, revenue. These calibrations, and they can drag on for 4 to 7 hours straight. So when Dell saw what WingScan could do, which is essentially completely eliminate these calibration stops, he said it was beyond comprehension. Now think about this. Is from the vice president of one of the biggest mining companies on the planet. He's not trying to be a WingScan salesperson. He doesn't need to be, right? However, this technology is so important to their industry that he's out there telling people about it. And look, let's be totally transparent for a second. You're watching this video right now on an online page about WingScan. Yes, this page is about offering you WingScan as a solution. We both know that, but here's the thing. When you have technology that can save companies $21 million plus in lost production, when the vice president of a multi-billion-dollar mining company is literally volunteering to tell people about it, you don't care to rely on fancy selling tactics or persuasion techniques. Here's what happens when you click that consultation button somewhere below this video. Simple stuff. Number one, we'll talk about your setup and we'll listen to your needs. That means raw numbers, real data, no bullshit. Then we'll show you what WingScan can actually do with a live demo in real time. And if you like what you see, we'll lay out the whole thing. We'll give you the timeline, the installation, everything. And if you don't like what you see, that's completely fine too. Seriously, volumetric technology isn't something that's for everyone, and we're okay with that. What we're gonna do is show you what's possible. You decide if it makes sense for your operation or not. So just hit the button somewhere below. Again, I'm Matthew from Wingfield Scale. Thank you so much for watching this video about WingScan, our advanced LiDAR technology for belt, truck, and rail.